G'day everyone, Calvin here from Shedding Sheep New Zealand. Let's do a bit of a look at Improve, how to use it, and how to look at a ram that we've purchased. Well, I didn't actually purchase it. We're going to call the man Tom. That's because it's his name. And he purchased a ram from Grant at Enfield Genetics. Right, a little bit of a backstory. I was in between World Jet Sprint Championships where I do data on jet boats. I was down at Wanaka and Grant and at Enfield Genetics. Shears Sale Day with Willow Glen Farms at the Gore Showgrounds. Now that's where the $24,500 ram was sold. So he is a bit of a beast of a ram. And I got a little bit of footage of him the day before.
He kind of stands
out in the paddock. Very stylish ram.
See, there's the head.
And congratulations to Grant for selling that ram.
So there you go. Good
But he'd also had a bit of a misfortune as well. So big fortune with the ram, one sale, but he had a very well ranked ram. And this ram I also saw back in, I think it was about July. It was just before I started lambing. Grant was challenging his rams in a cutover woodlot, and he expects those rams to maintain condition and to survive and do well in quite harsh conditions. And then when the grass comes away, they have to grow and condition up ready for sale. And that's by challenging rams is how we find very, very good rams. And that's one of the things that most of the breeders will do. In some way, in their own way, they will challenge those rams. And this ram happens to have a big black dot on him. Now the misfortune part was that this ram walked into the stockyards the day before the sale, before the auction, and he limped out. So you can imagine Grant wasn't very happy with that when I arrived just after lunch to have a look. And I actually went out in the paddock, and there was another one where rams had been fighting and taken a hit in the back, or in the hip area, and he was also limping. So there were two rams that were withdrawn for injuries. We went to the sale. I helped load up for the sale and sorted out the pens, and then I flipped some rams for people who had asked me to check out some rams while I was down there. And the following day, I said to Grant, "Hey, Mr. Black Dot out there, he's actually looking good," and he was almost good enough to go into the auction, but he was just a little tender. But the following day, you can see by the footage, he's just a little bit light in one of their feet, but almost healed up. And I said, "I've got someone who's been interested in some Texel cross type rams. How about I see if I can sell them for you or facilitate a sale?" I got hold of Tom. I did a little video. When I was in the yards, there was another little standout, full Texel, mostly Texel, he was a little bit more fluffy, black dotted shed very well, and Tom said, "Yep, those two rams I'd like," and Grant handed over and completed that sale. Tom didn't actually know what he was getting. He just liked the look of them, and he does want to know about data. He didn't quite realise what he was getting. So let's have a look at what he was getting. A little bit more too, and if you want to find out more, there is the SIL website. A little bit here on breeding values. It states that the best way to use SIL numbers is to compare with animals that have been included in the same analysis, so ideally in the same flock. It has lesser value across a bigger flock, though on Improve it compares across the national flock. And that's why the little guys actually get hurt a little bit by this system, and partly because of the depth of data. We talk about depth of data. I've got something about that. I think it's this one, which shows that the more background you have, the more family data you build up, the more accurate the breeding values are. And so that's really important. And it also means that the ram's own raw data has less importance than the family's data. And it also means is as you add to that data, the indexes can change, and I can show you that as well. Breeding values are actually in cents, and there's a formula behind that to create these EBVs, estimated breeding values. When you're looking at rams, data is half the story. The composition, the look of the ram is the other half. Okay, so Tom was happy with the structure of the rams in the videos I sent. You've seen them and the photos. He didn't quite realise what he was buying until he got it home, and he looked on Improve and went, wow, that's quite stunning. Let's have a quick look. Now I've got Improve here. There he is, using Improve, and there is also the catalogue. I've got the catalogues there. Choose traits. It brings up these little prompts. What I want to do is I want to tap in his animal ID. I want to go straight to that ram. This is part of Improve I don't particularly like. I would like here to be a little box so I could type in Enfield, because not everyone is going to know the flock's number. So it limits the value to the end user if it makes it harder to use. His number happens to be 2687. There has to be a dot. And then we put the ram's number in this particular case. We're using the catalogue. I've got the catalogue here. I've also got the catalogue here. Oh, that's lot 21. That's that 25,000, 24,500. And lot 90, 954 by 23. So there's his data. And we're going to pop that into Improve. So we go 954, and then we have to have a slash, and we have to have 23. And it brings up that we've found the right ram, and I'm going to choose the traits. Here is the maternal worth makeup. Okay, so maternal worth, you see the maternal worth, is the reproduction plus the survival plus the lamb growth. Adult size. Now Tom did ask me about adult size and why is the adult size, well, he thought that the highly negative number meant that the ram was small, or a tendency to be small. It actually isn't the case. They receive a penalty on the maternal worth with regard to their adult size. So the bigger the ram tends to be, the bigger the negative number, or the more negative the number becomes. So often when you're doing these workouts, maternal worth becomes less valuable when you get into the really big animals. So a lot of guys, when they're looking at buying rams, that's a factor that they take into consideration. Now, maternal worth plus meat, which is in the catalogue. Here's the rankings. Now, these rankings are across Grant's animals. Are not across Grant and Willow Glens. Are across the in-field animals that have been put forward for the catalogue. Now, to really make it confusing a little bit, there is more information. Now, if you're really wanting more information, you talk to the breeder and you say, hey, can I have the spreadsheet of the rams that you're offering or proposing to offer? And if I flick down here, I find this. There's a spreadsheet. These are really good if you're wanting to look through, because you can then search using your Excel skills. As a farmer, we need to have these skills nowadays, so you can go in and you can take the rankings and move them around. Okay, we can see here 95423. At this point, across these animals, he was ranked 8th for maternal worth, and there's all these numbers out here as well. There's a shed BV. Now that's important to consider those shed BVs as well. In here you've got the rankings. Again, he's changed. He's fourth ranked against a ram that sold for 24,500 who was 14th ranked. But this ram, there's all these numbers. If we look across these numbers, he's got a better shed BV. He's very balanced in his numbers, and there's a whole lot of background in there. And when guys are looking for stunning rams, they consider the rest of the family lines. So in here, this point, Enfield 78 by 16. He's actually quite a stunner, that ram. It's something that I look for when I'm looking for rams at a Grant's flock. If it's got that in the background, hey, it's a really good ram to have in there. There's others there, of course. Early on, I identified one of the little Texels, 166 by 23. I did it 6 months ago, and I said, hey, he's got a stunning ram, and he really was. He's at the end of the catalogue, and he has got that 78 by 16. His data's in the end of the catalogue, I should say. And that's why this ram, even though he's ranked 14th, the buyers liked him, and a number of buyers liked him. So if you go, hey, solely on the maternal worth plus meat, you might be missing out on other traits that you want to include in your ram buying. To say that anything in the top 20 is going to be a fantastic, or anything in the sale was actually pretty good. There's a lot of rams in there for people that are going to find stuff that they really want. Did I exit that out? Oh, I did. That's all right. And that's why guys spend a lot of time looking over things like these spreadsheets that have got, come on, the sire of the dam. There's a lot of stuff in there that they look through, and they'll go back to grandparents, great-grandparents, and see if how those animals in those family lines perform. Right, back to end proof, and I think I'm using this one. We were choosing some traits, so I'm going to push the meat there. We're going to do some health traits. Now, health traits don't always come up on improve depending on where they're at. It's one of the systems. It'd be nice just to have everything in there. If there's not enough data, it doesn't come up. Okay, I don't think a body condition is actually going to come up. Number of lambs born is good. Survival is good. Survival maternal. Yeah, sure. Let's put that in there. Not sure what's happened to this one. Weaning weight. Yep, and it's a BV. It's not his actual physical weaning weight. Okay, raw data at this point has limited value. A BV is far better because it's going to be more accurate than just a piece of raw data. And you'll see a lot of ram sellers pushing this raw data. If they've only got raw data and no BVs, I'm always wary. It means that there's not depth of data for them to sell these rams, and that depth of data is where you increase the accuracy. Weaning weight, maternal, live weight 8.
He's pretty distinctive.
Hey!
See, there's a dot on him.
Oh, there it is, see? There's a dot on him. We'll put that in later. So I've got weaning weight maternal, live weight 8. Carcass weight, maybe. And there's a whole lot of other things along here which, depending on what the breeder is testing for, of whether you're going to get good figures on improve. Okay, there is a lot there, and as I said, it won't always come up. I think we've probably got enough there. I would really like to see a Kala, but I don't think it's going to come up for us. And this is where the spreadsheet, going back to the breeder's spreadsheet, can be really helpful, or it happens to be in Grant's catalogue anyway. And shed BV, for shedding, shed BVs are great. Okay, that's really important. The $24,000 ram had a shed BV of 3.75, which is quite exceptional. This little ram, by comparison, because he is that Texel cross, has a shed BV of, let me check, 0.83. Even though he has shed well, as you can see from the videos, he's a well shed ram. What that means is there is going to be a tendency for some of his lambs not to shed so well. Even though he has shed, it's an indication how he's going to breed. Now it says up here he is a purebred Texel. That actually happens to be a mistake. We can look at his dad here, sire. Sire is a purebred Texel, and we can of course go back further, and we can go back further, and it gives us some more and more history of that ram. That's of the sire, and if we go back here, this one will probably, means he's numbered, but the info isn't in improve. There we go. That's as far, and that's actually an overseas ram. So you can go right back, and then you don't always get those end ones because the data isn't there for those rams. But we still go back quite a way, which means that the EBVs will have some accuracy. Now, when you go back, make sure you use this back arrow. And oh, sorry, I went the wrong way. We're going to tap onto the dam. The dam is a Wiltshire Texel, so as we can see that purebred Texel isn't quite correct in the improve. And we can then expand out, and we can expand out further. Maybe we'll look at the dam a bit more, eh? So we'll go on the dam side. And we expand out further. So 3531 is Willow Glen. That's their stud number. So you've got 3531 and a 351. So there's some Willow Glen blood coming through there as well, giving some diversity in the genetics. And we go right back here. What do we got there? That is Enfield. Enfield. There's a Willow Glen. And there's something else here. Goes back to a Sheen. So they were very, very good sheep. And purebred Wiltshire. So we can look very quickly at the background of that ram. Now let's look at some data for the ram. So over here we've got all these little numbers, and we can scroll along. You can see some of them. Sorry, not all the data is showing that we'd like. I would like to see a car, you see, but we've got that in the catalogue. But if we actually tap on this number, it converts those percentages into indexes and percentages. And we can see lots of those numbers are very, very high. And this is, even though still say it's not comparable against the national flock, that's against the national flock. And you can see that he performs very, very well. This is a ram that across the sale rams on maternal worth plus meters ranked 4th. Tom wasn't quite expecting a ram of like this. He didn't know quite what he was getting. He just said, hey, yeah, I like that ram. And I said, he's got very good numbers. I'm pretty sure that's all I said in the video, actually. He's got very good numbers. Those are exceptional numbers. So Tom was a little bit surprised when he tapped into improve and went, what have I actually purchased? Look at this. This is quite amazing. And it was only because of the unfortunate that he got injured. Other rams of similar caliber, like this little Texel, and not everyone likes the Texels, that's okay. We know and I've got a Texel coming myself, okay, so we understand that. And it can't find the perfect ram, but look at this, we've got a maternal worth in the top 35% of New Zealand, so up there is great. Top 53 for reproduction, so he's a little bit back on reproduction, but still that is a good number. Survival is a very good number, and we've got lamb growth top 6%, that's exceptional. Meat yield top 4%, huge. And then we've got this adult size, so he will have a tendency to produce very big animals. The reason they've taken a hit on that is someone has decided that big animals are not efficient, or are not as efficient, and so they give them a penalty for adult size. I believe that if you can get big animals with good reproduction, then you will still find very good farm efficiencies, and you'll grow fast lambs, and you need big animals to grow fast, big animals. Unfortunately, the body condition doesn't come up. That's one of the slip-ups of improve. We've got to deal with that. Number of lambs born, still a good number. Let's have a look at the survival. Good number there. Back a little bit with the maternal. There's going to be something in the history, in his family history, that's dragged him down a little bit. And then these meat and growth figures here, weaning weights, fantastic. He's quite a little stunner. Now, these can change, these numbers, and they do change. The catalogue, if I grab the catalogue, I'm just going to whip down to the bottom. And of course there's some information on how the numbers are derived contained in the catalogue. See this little ram here? 166. Now you know how I said 78 by 16, quite a stunning ram. Look at that. He pops up. This particular ram with a shed BV of 1.61, he didn't shed quite as nicely as Grant would have hoped. Our subject today, Black Dot, actually had shed better, even though his shed BV isn't quite as good. And what that means is this ram was probably more likely to throw offspring that shed better, even though he hasn't shed as nice. Again, this is an exceptional little ram, and I found him using Improve 6 months ago. And I often find my rams by going to like 10%, 15%, 20% to find the rams, excluding the bottom 20%. The rams that fit a lot of numbers, a lot of traits, tend to be very, very good. And that ram came up. Black Dot I'd been watching just because he'd been distinctive and he'd come in the yards, and every now and then Grant would send me a little video of Black Dot. So we've looked through a bit of the history of the ram, and we've found that there is spreadsheets that the breeders often have with more data. If you're looking for more data, we can find some of that in Improve, and I'll do another video one day where I look for some stunners, some standout rams. It will be Grant's flock partly, but I'll use easycare sheep as an example, and I can pick, sitting in my lounge here in the Waikato, great sheep in Southland. But let's look at why these numbers change, and that's because I believe Grant will have put it in his 2024 lamb data for his weaning weights, and that also counts for survival and things like that. So in the catalogue, survival was at 600, which is a very, very good number, ranked 8th across the animals in the catalogue, in Grant's catalogue. If I go back to Improve, it's already been updated, and it's come up to 718 for that index, which is a very, very good index for survival. Right, hopefully that's helped a little bit to establish some of the info behind the info, or where to find it, or how to use this program to find rams. I'm going to do some more of them and I'll probably upset some breeders, because I'll be teaching everybody, and there are some commercial guys out there who have got bigger budgets than some of the stud breeders and are willing to buy top animals, and putting animals on people's radars a lot earlier. And so one of the things that's also very important to the breeders, if you're going to get upset at me, don't. Build a relationship with other breeders, cooperate with other breeders, put forward your top animals, and then we can actually move forward. Right, other things, when you're using the program, don't use the computer's back arrow, use the program's back arrow. Okay, that'll save you a lot of time. If you get to this point, of course, you can, more info brings up history of the animal. Okay, you can actually also, if you tap here, right, here we have Black Dot sire, and what we've got here is here's the info for that ram. Down here we've got the progeny. Here's all the progeny. Okay, so we can go through them. We've also got up here, we've got ranking, so we can then look at his numbers as well, and we can do that for multiple animals. One thing I'd really like, it'd be nice to have like a compare figure. Hey, yeah, let's put him on a compare list and be able to have a compare of those animals, so we can look at them in different forms. But this is what we've got to work with now, so it's still pretty good. I often have multiple screens set up, so I can flick back through them, or I have one on my phone and one on the computer to have a comparison that way. So we have got the ranking, we can access the rankings there, back to the info there. We got to work with what we've got. It's not perfect, but it's a good system to solve most of our questions. And if it doesn't, we talk to the breeders and we find out more. So there's 954. He won't have any progeny unless he was used as a lamb. See, he wasn't. Or if he was, they weren't recorded animals. And then if we're on this screen and we tap on here like this, bang, up come the indexes and percentages. It'd be really nice actually to maybe have tap screen, a little thing up here, tap screen for more, whatever, something like that, just to prompt people, so to make it more user friendly for people who don't use it all the time. Right, I hope that's been helpful. Tom, I'm looking forward to seeing the offspring from Black Dot and the other one that you've got, that full Texel that was didn't shed quite as well, he had a bit more wool on him, but he had actually shed some. So I'm looking forward to progeny from both those animals and having a catch up. And if you've got questions, if you want to know more about this system, I am not the expert, but I am good with data, good with numbers, and I use this system quite a lot. And if there are questions that I don't know, I will find an expert to answer those questions for you. Okay. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Catch you later.